I'm down to dunk.
And I'm down to dunk. I'm down to dunk.
This is J-Dub, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Shai Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lindy Waters, and I'm down to dunk. I'm Mike Muscala, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Kenneth Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to dunk.
You say this is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
Crackling oat bran?
Have you had Cracklin' Oat Bran?
No,
No. Okay.
but it's healthy.
Are you a big oat brand guy?
I'm a big Oat Bran guy.
Okay.
I think I would switch it with Fruity Pebbles.
Okay, eat faster. Don't put as much in the bowl.
Do you have a gallon of milk I can also take home?
You don't have milk at home?
One cinnamon toast.
Okay.
Crunch. Yeah. Cereal is great. Yeah.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, only on a Tuesday, because our basketball feelings are back, Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew?
Did you feel it last night too? Because there was a point in that third quarter where I'm sitting there watching games, and that's what I do almost every night of my life right now, is I sit and watch basketball games, and I just kind of take it in. I have a lot of fun doing it. It's wonderful. But I haven't had like basketball feelings that didn't involve tanking in a long time. And it surprised me. It hit me like a ton of bricks last night.
Yeah, I mean, I texted the group during the game, and I said, hey, if they win, Wednesday's pod is going to be the tank is over pod. We're going to do that pod. And I'm kind of glad that didn't happen, because that would have definitely been used against me when they inevitably go on a 5-game losing streak at some point in December. But yeah, that's how I was feeling. Just because, you can make excuses for the individual game, because, Boston did not shoot well. They shot 10 of 37 from 3.
Yeah.
Sounds like a line from the old Thunder of a few weeks ago. The difference in their defensive intensity from the first 3 quarters to the fourth quarter was dramatic, and made you think okay, they weren't necessarily trying as hard as they probably could.
Right.
But I also think you have to factor in that it was second night of a back-to-back on the road. After a game where they expended a lot of energy scoring all those points in Madison Square Garden, but like an emotional game, playing at MSG,
No doubt.
and to come back from that, and it wasn't like Mark played some ridiculously expanded lineup. If anything, it was more consolidated than ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the 5 starters each played at least 33 minutes in that game against Boston.
Poku played 37 minutes.
Yeah, that was my morning after shock when I looked at the box score and said, wait, how did Poku have the most minutes of anyone? He was hurt. He left the game for a period of time.
No, I didn't think I'd be saying the phrase Poku played 37 minutes until we got to March or April.
Yeah, totally. And so you factor in those things, and I just think that that game was super impressive.
Yeah.
And as bad as it looked sometimes in the fourth quarter, and it did look bad, and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
The fact that they still kept it close through all of that, it was still a game to the very end.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they were playing at stretches of that fourth quarter, you're like, this could end up being a 10-point loss if they continue like this. But they stabilized somewhat and at least made it competitive towards the end. So, yeah, overall, I was just super impressed. It was a really challenging matchup because Boston is arguably the best team in the league. They have probably the second best point differential right now, but they're on now a 7-game winning streak. Everyone was healthy other than Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon, unlike the Bucks games where, Giannis and Drew were missing.
It was
Chris Middleton.
It was Javon Carter beating the Thunder.
Yes, it was Javon Carter. Yeah, this was feeling like, okay, we're going head-to-head against a legit MVP candidate in Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown played awesome. So, yes, I was super impressed, and this does feel different to me.
Yeah. They played very good basketball. There was a stretch there at the end of the third when Peyton Pritchard came in, and they just needed some kind of energy. And Pritchard went on this like 5-0 run by himself.
Yeah.
And then at the beginning of the fourth, it felt like, oh no, like this is all slipping away. And the officials called out of bounds Celtics ball, and Giddey was just like, nope, review that,
Yeah.
immediately. And Mark trusts Josh Giddey and trusts his players, and he reviewed it and ended up being Thunderball. And that moment kept them in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Was challenging it then, not saving your challenge for later, challenging it then. It felt like it at least stopped the momentum. The Thunder actually got back on track. It felt like they weathered the storm a little bit, and then it just kind of withered away again. And these are the kind of moments that I was talking about before the season started, where it's like, we need to figure out who these guys are and what they're made of in moments like this. And turns out like this is a young team, and young teams lose games. Like that's just a part of this. I still expect this to be a team that is going to have a lottery pick. Probably not a super high lot with super high lottery odds, but I expect this to be a team with a lottery pick. But like those are the kind of games where you get to learn stuff. And it's so important to compete at that level where like the Garden is rocking and you're playing against a really good Boston Celtics team, and you have Shai leading them down the stretch, and they miss some shots, and that's just kind of how it goes. And I mean, the Celtics got pretty lucky, like getting like that Marcus Smart 3 where the ball just kind of popped out into Smart's hands and he just shot and made it. And then that Derek White 3 on the wing too. Derek White was really good last night. But yeah, getting that shot from Derek White on the back of that Marcus Smart 3, like that was the game. But it took those moments for the Celtics to beat this Thunder team. And I just didn't think we'd be talking about that. I thought, okay, if they can just be competitive through 3 quarters or something like that, like it's going to be, that's a great sign for this team. But the fact they were up 15 in the third, I mean, that was really something. And, Presti talked about before the season, we're going to let this team declare themselves with regards to how they handle this season. And, this is probably still not big enough of a sample size, 14 games. But if we get to 20 games and they're close to 500 like this, I think they have declared themselves like, hey, we're in the middle already and we're missing our second best player. And there's potential for another lottery pick to come back along with Chet, who's walking around in 2 shoes. It's there's some exciting things percolating in Oklahoma City. You're muted.
Yeah, my mic just died, Andrew.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was gonna say, I agree with you that I still think they are going to have a lottery pick. I'm not predicting playoffs based off of this, but I do think I can feel confident in saying that I think there's a clear difference between OKC and some of the teams at the true bottom of the league.
Oh,
which we couldn't really say last year. Like as good as that run was from Shai when he finally came back, whatever that was, like February or whatever.
Yeah, in February. Yeah.
This is different. Like none of those other teams at the bottom have a player close to the caliber of SGA, how he is playing right now. Like maybe Cade Cunningham becomes that player down the road. He is not that player right now. Like Shai is playing like a top 10 player in the league. And you just can't be at the level of what Detroit's doing right now or what Houston's doing right now when you have a legitimate top 10 player in the league.
Yeah.
This team has reached a new level, whatever that level is. And it's probably not playoff level, but it's a new level. They've reached some new plateau, and then we're going to see where they go from this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets me excited, because otherwise you're just like looking for flashes, kind of like we've done the last couple of years. And they've had nice wins in the past for sure. But this feels different to me.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, Houston is a mess. They're an absolute
Yeah,
mess.
did you see Eric Gordon's tweet last night?
No.
He after the game, I think they lost to the Clippers by a healthy amount, and he just tweeted out the super angry emoji. Super angry emoji.
They stink, man. Like the Clippers were just playing with their food last night with the Rockets. I mean, they didn't play any of their starters in the fourth quarter at all.
Yeah.
They sat them because they were going to be on the second night of a back-to-back. Like, yeah, we'll just let our bench guys handle them. And we know the Clippers have not had the best start. You know, they were 7-6 going into that game.
Right.
Now, they needed to get that win, and they still felt like, yeah, whatever. We'll just let our backups beat these guys. And they did, and they absolutely destroyed them. And then you look at Detroit, who's just really struggled. They're a minus 9.7. And their point,
their big exciting thing is that they put Marvin Bagley in their starting lineup.
I know,
and that was going to be, and we had talked to James about that. Like that was going to be the plan coming into the season.
Yeah.
So how they were the most bet over when the team was verbally saying they were going to start Marvin Bagley, who, if you look at, I was looking at, I didn't bring this up on Saturday Slam and Jam, but I was looking at Cleaning the Glass from last year.
Yeah.
In his 500 minutes or whatever it was, no player was a bigger negative than Marvin Bagley for the Pistons.
Yeah. He's just not good.
He's not.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah. So I feel like, remember we had that conversation on Slam and Jam in the middle of summer, like which of these four teams is going to be the first to break out in some way, whatever that ends up meaning, just to separate themselves from the other ones. That's what I'm talking about. Like it feels like OKC has separated themselves from those teams. And a lot of that is Shai, because this is a leap that it just doesn't happen a lot. You know, like even if you think he's like a top 15 player in the league, like those types of leaps just don't happen a lot. There can only be 15 best players in the league. And he is one of those, wherever you think he is. Yeah. And so, I am super psyched. And the other thing that gets me super excited is the offense, because we've talked about how the offense has just been miserable for the last 2 years.
It has been.
30th or 29th, whatever it's been the last couple of years. And in these last couple games, but even on the season, I think they're at 21st right now.
Yeah, they're 21st. I'm looking at it right now. 21st in offense. Their defense has fallen to 15th.
Right. And a lot of that was the Knicks game.
The Knicks game is like one of those outliers that definitely throws off all of your numbers.
Yeah. It'd actually be funny to pull that game out, because I wonder, their defense would probably still be top 10, but their offense would maybe go down to 25th or something.
Like this is who they are, right? Like still not a great offense, but an improving offense, and like probably the 10th to 15th best defense in the league, and they're the youngest team in the league. And by the way, this was brought up by Warner West in the chat. They don't have a consistent starting lineup. Like they've started like 9 different groups.
They refuse to give us any valuable data.
Oh my gosh. And Mark, even before the game, like we'll ask him, who are you starting? And he won't tell us who the starters are. And he's told us like, yeah, I'm not giving you the starters this year. Like, okay. And so this was a couple weeks ago, but I was like, can you tell me who you're starting in the front court? Like, give me 2 people you're starting, just as seeing. He's like, no, he's not doing it. But yeah, they don't have any real consistency in the rotation. Guys are in and out. Like there's times where Wiggins doesn't play, and like Wiggins looks so good. Like he's somebody who's like under the radar and like should be under the radar because he's not been like so good. Like wow, but he's a competent NBA player and was helpful to this team last night. And J-Dub played really well last night. Kind of carried the Thunder in the first quarter, and continued to play and played big minutes for them and played some important defense for them. I mean, there's just a lot of guys on this team that are still really young, that are developing, and it's been really cool to see. And a guy that has developed into a player that's trustworthy is Poku. I mean, they played him 37 minutes last night.
Crazy.
In a game against the Celtics. He's looking real sturdy out there, playing big minutes. I even got a text from Jay King last night to the Athletic NBA show chat talking about how he said, I think Poku might be the one. So the tide is turning on Poku a little bit.
Yeah, in a good way. And he still has he's kept his essence, Like even last night, the shot where he threw it off of the rim, it was definitely a shot, but then he immediately followed it up and slammed it home.
Yeah.
I love that because
Right.
I could tell right when he shot the first shot. I was like, that something looks off, and of course it missed. But to have the confidence and the strength to just go up and go get it, that was impressive to me. And then he had another play, I think it was like in the first quarter, where it appeared that he was about to lose the ball, unclear what he was thinking he was gonna do, but then he cut back across the lane and he laid it up, and it was really impressive. So he still has that Poku essence. He hasn't lost that aspect of his game where he's still making some goofy plays, but it's starting to work out more often than not. And to be the lone big on that team and have to go to battle against Al Horford, who yes is old, but like is so much bigger than Poku. And there were some moments where it was clear like this is not a great matchup for Poku, but on the whole, like did really well in that game.
Yeah,
I was so impressed. I mean, you would probably say he was the second best player on the court for the Thunder last night.
For stretches, yes, he was.
I mean, especially with how the game ended for Giddey and Dort. Like
Giddey and Dort are out there trying stuff, and like that's part of being a young team is that you have guys that are still trying to figure stuff out. And when you're 19 and 23 years old, like that's okay. And whenever you're in this season, like this is gravy season for the Thunder. Like whatever happens is okay. Like every outcome is acceptable almost, unless if they were playing like Houston, I would say like, okay, this is unacceptable because it doesn't feel like there's like a true path forward to being a good team. But all the other paths are like, yeah, this is great. If we lose a bunch of games and get a high lottery pick, awesome. If they win a bunch of games and somehow find themselves in the plan, like, holy smokes, like that's great. They're ahead of schedule. There's a lot of outcomes that are good for this team and guys figuring it out. Like Giddey had great moments last night, and he has had moments that were kind of head scratching. But
yeah, I went back and watched his turnovers, and so like the turnovers that don't bother me are the ones where he's trying to make a pass and either the defense just gets a really good jump on it or has like good length, and like he's tried to throw a pass over the top in like the second quarter and it got picked off. Those I'm not as worried about because I trust Giddey's passing. The ones that bother me, and Boston got him on this at least twice, you may even count this third time, but basically they know he's going to spin when he's bringing the ball up and he's playing against someone who's applying pressure to him. He's going to spin. And all you have to do is wait on the other side. And right when he spins, because he holds the ball out far enough, you can just run in there and take it. And that exact thing happened twice with Peyton Pritchard and then Derek White being the one stealing the ball. And then there was another play where he tried to spin and he fell down. And so those were 3 of those 7 turnovers. That's the part that you're like, you have to like tighten that handle, because you've seen this a few times this season where if teams just pressure Giddey a lot and occasionally even bring help, like he's going to have a tough time if you do it quick enough. Like if you really get up in his business.
Yeah. And he's used his strength and his body a lot better the last like 3 or 4 games to get him and to finish, and his floater is falling, and there's
his post up, which he talked about after last game, I think, just like recognizing, most of the guys who are guarding me are usually a lot smaller than me. Yeah, him posting up smaller guys, that has looked really good the last couple games.
Yeah,
that is something that doesn't really require him to do any crazy moves with his handles, So there's good and bad there. With Dort, I thought he was really good through the majority of the game, and then, I mean, he shot 3 of 7 from 3, and then it was just like all these drives, and he got he got lucky on a couple, like the one where Derek White grabbed onto the rim, so that one ended up counting and being N1, and that was at a crucial part at the end of the game.
Tie the game up. It was a big time moment. Yeah.
But there were also just like so many that you're like, I don't even know what you're trying to do right now. Why are you? He's similar to Giddey, will like make layups more difficult on himself.
Well, he'll get there, and he won't be in control. Is the problem, you know?
Well, he had one with it was against Al Horford. He was driving in from the corner, and he had Al Horford on his left and had him like blocked off. Could have just gone up with his right hand. Instead, he like went underneath the basket trying to do this like under the basket left-handed layup, and it of course didn't work. Looking at his stats, you know, he's still shooting like fine in the restricted area. I think he's at 58%, but the non-restricted area paint shots, he is shooting 25%, and he had 4 of those last night and missed all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he can't get all the way there, and it's not like it's perfect every time he does get all the way to the rim, but when he doesn't get to the rim, it's like, no, it's going to be bad. If he shoots like some kind of weird like running hook shot or a floater, like anything he tries outside the restricted area is not going to work, or at least hasn't this season.
Yeah, he's almost 60% from 0 to 3 feet, 32% from 3 to 10 feet.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of those shots were last night. So
Yeah.
yeah, that wasn't great. But you know, he was one of the people that helped them get into the position they were, and he hit some timely threes, and I thought he looked comfortable doing that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I understand why people want to look at Giddey and Dort, because yes, they did kind of like blow that at the end. But I still think on the whole, it was a very impressive game from the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I continue to be very impressed. You know, they're missing Trey Mann last night and Darius Baisley last night. You know, guys that could have theoretically helped them against the Celtics, and you know they continue to battle without them. So, I'm impressed. I just thought that if they could just be in this game, that'd be great. They had a chance to win that game, and they had all 5 members of the starting lineup in double figures. J-Dub with 14, Poku with 16, Dort with 21, Shai with 37, Giddey with 16. Yeah, Giddey's 16, 7, and 4. He had 7 turnovers. Like the turnovers are a lot, especially lately. But again, like I think Mark would look at that and be like, you know what? It's fine. Like we're trying to learn. Like we're trying to become a better team. And he's got to have these reps and have these failures throughout the season in order to get better. And so they're going to continue to let him kind of work through that and, you know, iron out some of these creases in his game that, you know, he's still so young. Like we're still so far away even from his like pre-prime age, you know, let alone like his prime years. So there's a lot of people can be really hard on Giddey and on Dort. And yeah, there had some rough moments last night, but that's to be expected. Like there's going to be rough moments. There's going to be games where Poku shoots 1 of 12 and not 7 of 12. You know, there's going to be moments where Giddey misses all of his shots and has more turnovers than assists. And like that, those things are going to happen this season. And that's just a part of like kind of this journey this Thunder team is going to be on. But man, it's impressive. So
we didn't even mention the new starting lineup.
Yeah.
So the new starting lineup played 16 minutes last night, which is unique in the fact that through 14 games or through 13 games, I guess, the most played lineup had played 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So the fact that starting lineup played 16 in one game is kind of interesting. And the starting lineup, if you weren't able to watch the game, was SGA, Dort, Poku, Giddey, and J-Dub.
Yeah.
Which was like incredible. I mean,
that's, if I could sketch out a lineup before the season, that would have been one of my favorites.
That probably would have been one of them. And what made it so interesting is that if you look at them quarter by quarter this year, it's been the third quarter where the Thunder have been really good. The first quarter, they've largely been bad, especially with like whatever their starting lineup is. Their starting lineups have not been good. That lineup last night, now it's 16 minutes, but they were a plus 17.9 net rating. They had a 107.7 offensive rating and an 89.7 defensive rating. If you're Mark, I get it. It's one game, but you gotta give that a little bit more run. Let me see that. Let me see that for like 5 games in a row.
Yeah.
Just to see what happens, because I just loved it. And Poku as center is probably not. Well, it's not the answer going forward because we have Chet coming in next year.
The answer's waiting for us. Yeah.
But it's still fun. And I still like seeing Poku playing with those guys because I do think he adds something that they need. And the same with J-Dub. J-Dub adds something that starting lineup needs as well.
Yeah, extra ball handling. Like he was hitting pull-up shots and, taking threes. And his 3 ball has a lot of work to do, but he was 2 of 5 last night, 6 of 9 from the field. I mean, he was great. He just adds like this other dimension where we know what Dort is, and he can be good and terrible and everything in between. That's just another steady hand out there. It's like starting at forward. Like it really truly is like positionless basketball to a degree out there. Cause it's like, I don't know who's playing what position. I just know like Shai's the best player and they're surrounding him with these just uber versatile players out there. And that's the idea. And you forget a little bit about Chet. Sometimes you forget about Ousmane Dieng because he's been away from the team a little bit playing with the blue. But like if certainly Chet's going to come in and make a big impact, but if Dieng, who's like add him to the list of like versatile players that can do stuff. I mean, it's just very intriguing to think about what this team could be, along with adding a player in the 23 draft. I mean, this is
because
all coming together.
Going back to the Toronto game, one thing was that Siakam wasn't playing.
Yeah.
But the other thing was that the Raptors roster actually like lines up pretty well for these types of smaller ball lineups that the Thunder would like to play. Yeah. And so they were really successful, but then you start wondering, well, okay, is this just like kind of matchup dependent? Are we really going to see these lineups going forward? I would just love for the rest of the season for them to start playing those lineups in less conventional matchups. Like they're going to play Memphis this week coming up.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Like, what is that starting lineup going to look like? Especially if Triple J is back and you have Triple J and Steven Adams. Like, what is that starting lineup going to look like? But I'd kind of just like to see, like, why not just throw that same lineup out there? Just see what happens.
I mean,
who cares?
I guess the T-Wolves, they didn't try to adjust to their size.
Yeah.
They started Kenrich and Poku on night 1.
So I would like that going forward. That's something I'd be interested in.
Yeah, you might as well just start those guys and they try to play fast. I mean, that's just something that I keep watching them. Like when I'm there at the games and sitting up close, it's like Mark is just like, let's go, like get into these actions quick. You can see the players that are inbounding the ball. If there's a make, just trying to get the ball in as fast as possible. I mean, they want to play fast. And, if you're playing against bigger guys, you're playing against Steven Adams and Triple J, they're going to want to play faster. They're going to have to get into their actions a little bit faster if they want to score.
Yeah.
That's another interesting matchup. I mean, it's just more looks at good teams. Their upcoming schedule, they play Washington Wednesday night, Memphis on Friday, and then they're back home next week. They play the Knicks Monday night, Denver again on Wednesday, and then Chicago Friday, and then Houston Saturday in Houston, second night of a back-to-back. I mean, if we looked at this schedule preseason, I think that, I don't know, I would have given the Thunder maybe like 3 wins up until where we are today. And then, I don't know, there's a good chance that they could beat a team like Washington Wednesday night. Memphis, I'd call it a loss. The Knicks, I think they can beat the Knicks at home. Denver is a toss-up. Like, is Denver going to shoot the ball like they did? Like, I don't know. Like, that's a toss-up in a way. Chicago is interesting in OKC, and then I think they should pummel Houston. I thought they'd pummel the Pistons.
Yeah, I know.
But, you never know on a night tonight what's going to happen. But, this is this is just a fun team to watch again. Like, they're very interesting. And one of the most fun things is like, the best is yet to come. 1, because of the age of the roster, and then 2, because you've got Chet waiting in the wing and
Yeah.
walking around in 2 shoes. And like that's a big deal.
I wanted to. Okay, I'm gonna attempt to share my screen, Andrew.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping I
May or
can
may not
choose.
let you, but yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, Andrew, let me.
I'll let you.
Actually, I have to let myself.
Okay.
Because oh, never mind. I can't do it. All right. Well, what I wanted to put together, I did put together. I'll post it on Twitter.
Mhm.
But I compared this 14 game stretch to their best 14 game stretch of last season and the season before.
Yeah.
Just as a point of comparison, because you know, it's easy to forget that last year's team did have a very good stretch. The team before that had a very good stretch. They ended up with 22 and 24 wins. Why is this season any different? You know, why are we not just experiencing a similar phenomenon where they're just having a nice stretch and then it's going to fall off and will eventually be tanking?
Mhm.
So 2 seasons ago, so this was the Al Horford, George Hill year. Their
Yep.
best 14 game stretch was from February to March, that February 14th to March 14th. They were 7-7 in those games. -4 point differential, -5.5 net rating. Now, -5.5 net rating isn't good. That's like definitely a non-playoff team. I mean, I think Detroit's somewhere down like -8 to -10 right now.
Mhm.
In that 14 game stretch, they had losses of 22, 30, 24. The offense was 28th in the league during that good stretch. The defense was 11th, and they played the 19th fastest pace in the league. Last year, the best 14 game stretch was December 6th to January 2nd. They were also 7-7, -2.7 point differential, -2.7 net rating. They had losses of 21, 19, 18. They were the 29th ranked offense, the 5th ranked defense during that stretch. And I will say that this stretch, they beat they had some legitimately good wins. They beat a healthy Memphis with Ja. They beat a healthy Denver with Jokic, playing the 13th fastest pace in the league.
Mhm.
Now this year, first 14 games of the season, they're 6-8, so not as good as those previous ones. 0 point differential. They've scored the exact same amount of points as the teams they've played.
Yep.
Their net rating is -0.5. Their worst loss is 10, 12, and 14. Their worst loss was 14 points. In
Mhm.
all of those past 2 seasons, they had at least 3 losses of 18 points or more.
Mhm.
As you mentioned, the 21st ranked offense, 15th ranked defense, first in pace. What I think is interesting about this is that it's inevitable that at some point these bad teams are going to have a good stretch during the season. A
Mhm.
lot of times, like for teams like Detroit or like Orlando last year, it happens in the second half. They've been so bad in the first half, or even Houston,
Mhm.
and then they start catching a little fire, you know, around the All-Star game. After the All-Star game, they start picking up a few wins that ultimately don't matter. Similarly, with the teams last year, like their best stretches are coming, you know, 40 games into the season, 30 games into the season. I think it's interesting that this team's stretch is happening the first 14 games of the year. It's likely they're going to have a stretch better than this based on the previous 2 seasons, because we expect that this team will get better as the season goes on. And assuming everyone's healthy, it's likely they're going to have a better stretch than this. And you could argue that this is the best 14 game stretch they've had over
Mhm.
these last 3 seasons. So that's kind of what is getting me excited, because yes, you can point to the schedule. You know, Siakam was out of that one game. Kawhi obviously didn't play in the Clippers games. I do think the Dallas win was very impressive, even though it took like a massive comeback.
Yeah.
But still, to be through 14 games and have a net rating of -0.5,
Mhm.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And to think that this might not be the best. I mean, to kind of know this won't be the best they look all season. I mean, that would be disappointing if this is the best they look and it's all downhill from here.
Well, it's
We
just like based
anticipate,
on the schedule. They'll
yeah, based on the schedule. Now the
Yeah.
schedule gets super tough in December.
Yeah.
Though they do have like one of the longest homestands ever. They're home
Yeah.
on the 14th until the 27th. So even though they're playing some good teams in there, I could see them racking up like a decent amount of wins.
Yeah.
Um,
It's odd, honestly. I mean, it's
to be
Miami,
home for that
Minnesota,
one, yeah.
Memphis, yeah. Portland, New Orleans, San Antonio. And even like between like the Pelicans game in San Antonio, they've got 3 days of rest.
Yeah.
So that's through Christmas. It is very favorable to these Thunder guys who, after the Pelicans game, if they want to go home for Christmas, like, hey, you got 3 days to go do whatever you want.
Right.
I mean, it's a very, very favorable in that way. And, we'll learn a lot about who the team is through December. I think that we'll know, by who
like January 1st, I'm so interested to know what their record is going to be, because even in the past seasons, they haven't really pulled major levers before January 1st.
They won't. Yeah.
They've kind of just let it play out and see what happens. And I think this year, that'll be through 36 games. So almost half of the season will be completed by the time we get to January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 36 games. I'm trying to think like what I would predict for a record.
Do it.
Well, now I'm trying to do the math.
Now you're trying to half 36 in your mind right now.
Yes. No, I know that it's 18 and 18. I would go like a little below that. So like 16 and 20.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound out of the realm of possibility.
It doesn't. It really does not, especially where they are now and the tough schedule that they've had so far. And I know, like you said, like you can justify everything, but I mean, it still is what it is. They haven't played a lot of bottom feeder teams yet, and they could be there. And we have proof of what the Thunder will do if they see that things are going well enough, because they did that with their Chris Paul year. They didn't go and make some big sweeping changes. They weren't like a buyer at the deadline. They didn't do anything like that. I don't think they're going to be that. I don't think we're going to get to the deadline, but man, we really need another wing, or we really need a backup point guard, or the Thunder aren't going to go and do those things. So we need to make sure that our expectations are where they should be, but they will let it ride if they're good enough. If we get to January and they are 10 or 12 games below 500, which is also not impossible, then I think that levers start to get pulled. But the question is, like, the levers were there pretty simply for the Thunder last year. It was like, hey, more Isaiah Roby and more Teo Maladone and more
Veet Krejci.
The levers aren't as clear this year as to what you can do. Because like even Isaiah Joe he's played pretty well.
Dude, even Eugene, the two-way guys.
Eugene was awesome on Friday. McKelly and I really didn't talk. I don't even know if we talked about him at all, but he was incredible. And yeah, like who on this team is the tank commander? Like if we were to dub somebody the tank commander, like who is it?
I mean, if you're going purely by on-off numbers,
yeah, which I'm not sure is the right way to go about it, but yes, go ahead.
It's not, but I'm just letting you know. Right now, it's Jalen Williams, it's J-Dub.
Which doesn't feel sustainable that he will be that bad,
Right, I would agree. And with like last year, I mean, there were obviously all the guys at the end of the season, but even someone like Darius Baisley. Like, Bays played almost 2,000 minutes last year.
Yeah.
And the team was minus 7.4 points worse when he was on the court.
Yeah.
Now, this season, it's completely reversed. He's a plus 7.1.
I know.
So even if you think of Bays as like a high-minute guy who's ultimately not going to help you win games, even that narrative has started to change this year.
I know.
And the other aspect of all this is Shai. Like, Shai is an all-star as of today. If he remains healthy, he's going to be an all-star.
Yeah.
He's not just an all-star, though. Like, he is playing at an all-NBA level.
He's a top 10 guy this season. And I said that in like a lot. I love what the response was, is that it wasn't like, oh, wow, that's awesome. It's like, oh, that's not hot enough. Like, that's not a hot enough take.
Bell pepper.
I mean, if I would have said that before the season, people would have been like, whoa, Andrew, this is crazy. Like, that's insane. But like now people are like, oh, he's easily top 3 best player. It's like, okay, like People are Jets there. But I mean, you look at like Giannis, Luca, Jason Tatum, Ja, Booker, Embiid, Mitchell, Steph, Dame, KD. Like to me, those are like the best guys this season.
Yeah.
And that's not even mentioning like Jokic or Paul George or LeBron, who are all very good players too. But the list that I just gave, like SGA is in that list somewhere. It's ranking players is so difficult. So I'm not like, I don't know how I would place him on that list. But to me, he's probably in the like Booker, Mitchell, Dame, KD level this year.
Which is, it sounds crazy to say that, like, especially when you say someone like KD. But
Yeah.
the thing with Shai is that even in this season where like stats are inflated, everyone's scoring 30 points. One, he has the best field goal percentage of anyone in the top 5 in terms of points per game.
Yeah.
But two, it's what he's doing on the defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially when we talk about some of these other guys, you don't even mention their defense because we all just kind of know, like, yeah, they're not great defenders.
I like Shai.
They have to take on a huge offensive load. It's understandable. Shai is putting up those same numbers while also being a positive on defense.
Yeah. Just his stocks. Like he's probably the best, if like probably top 3 in that group.
Yeah, I think OG was 1. I forget who was 2, and I think he was 3. And that shows up. The one thing I didn't mention, because part of it is related to pace, but like you compare their best 14 game stretch from the last 2 seasons, like they are racking up blocks and steals in a way that they just weren't last year. And to be fair, like they were a better defense last year during their best 14 game stretch.
Mm-hmm.
The defense has certainly fallen off since Baisley got injured, since he left the lineup. And I'm not saying that's the only reason, but the defense has definitely taken a hit. But the offense has just looked like so much more dynamic.
Everything is more free flowing. There's just a lot more wings. There's a lot more ball handlers. There's a lot more decision makers out there. And it's quite impressive. It's very, very impressive. Yeah. Shai is 3rd in total steals. He only trails DeJounte Murray and OG Anunoby. OG has 40 steals
That's
this
impressive.
year in 15 games. Like that's wild.
Yeah, that's almost 3 a game.
Yeah, Shai has 27 in 13 games. Like that is pretty wild. Lou Dort has 19 steals in 14 games. And then in total blocks, Poku is tied for 9th with 20 blocks in 12 games, which shout out to Poku. And then Shai has 19 blocks in 13 games, which for a guard, I think he and Tatum are like the only non-bigs to have that many blocks.
But going back to the original point, like, yeah, the levers are not clear this year.
Yeah, what is the lever?
And for people who are going to say, well, eventually they're going to sit Shai, like if you sit Shai during a season when he has a chance to make all NBA, like if you thought the national response was bad already, like it like I would be pissed.
Yeah.
If there were any indication that Shai was sitting unneeded. Now, if it's like the last 10 games of the season and they're out of the playoffs, whatever. But like I want to see 60 to 70 games of Shai, assuming he's healthy.
Because I mean, he's had legitimate injuries as well.
Yeah,
his tenure with the Thunder, so it's like on him. But we have seen the way that things have been treated with him. Is I thought he'd miss maybe the first 2 weeks of the season.
right,
and he didn't. And then he got hurt during this season, and he came back quickly. So like those to me are indicators. Like if you're worried, like, oh my gosh, they're going to sit Shai, they could have taken their opportunity to do that already.
That's a good point.
In a more significant way. So I think that they're showing we're treating this normally. I think, I don't know this for sure, but I would say like the marching orders in Oklahoma City, which might surprise some people, are go win games. Go out there and play the guys that you think you should to win games. And that's what they're doing. And they're winning some games. They're losing games, but they're competitive night in, night out. And, when I talk to people about this team, it's like, man, this is a really fun team. Like, I need to get down there to watch them play. And I would recommend it while you can, while it's cheap to go watch a Thunder game. Go watch one, because they're different. They're really fun. They play a fun brand of basketball, and it's going to be really fun. Another opportunity. I think I mentioned this on the Monday pod too, but and this is part of the reason why we're recording today is that game was so much fun that I just wanted to capitalize on my basketball feelings being back a little bit. But also the G League Ignite are in Oklahoma City. They played here Monday night, and they play again Wednesday at 11. And so I'm probably going to be there. My plan is to be there, but if you want to go watch them play, if you have the ability and flexibility in the middle of the day to go watch a basketball game, I think it's $10 to get in. And you
get to see Scoot. You get to see probably Usman.
Yeah.
And who else?
Eugene.
And Jemias Ramsey.
Jemias Ramsey's been balling.
He has. TJ Wilson. I'm going to try to name as many blue players as I can. Who's the other guy? Is Robert Woodard still on the team?
Yeah, he's the other Sacramento King.
Yeah,
on the blue.
Did you see the thing the Kings are doing with Light the Beam?
The laser, yes.
Man, I really want that. I like that. I like the idea that you can, if you live in Sacramento, you can see it from like far away after every win. If you don't know, after every Kings win from the Golden One Center, they shoot a purple beam up into the night sky.
Mm-hmm.
And so after every game, all the Kings fans are saying, light the beam, and you can apparently see it for like miles.
Yeah,
around Sacramento. I like that. That's very cool.
Such a good idea. The Kings are doing great things with their arena and with that. Have you seen Deuce and Mo, how they do the fire the laser thing from Austin Powers?
Yes. Yes.
Very funny. Very good. Yeah, I wish the Thunder had something like that.
And hey, I'm going to keep bringing it up until they do it. Start shooting food in the stands. The people want it. I tweeted about it. People want to be hit with food in their face. Think about it.
Fire a burrito into the stands.
Now that could hurt if that's a loaded burrito.
Oh, load that baby up. You got to be ready.
Because I really want a corn dog, but it's you'd have to break off the stick because obviously they wrap the bratwurst in something, but having that long stick would make it hard to wrap it.
Well, also it'd be dangerous. It'd be like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but like maybe if you did mini corn dogs,
yeah,
that could be something.
Like spray them like a shotgun.
Yes, like a shotgun. That would be really cool. They're all individually wrapped mini corn dogs.
Yeah, just catch one. Who wouldn't want that? You need a little pick me up in the middle of the third quarter. Well, I got you. Rumble's got you. He's firing mini corn dogs at everybody. Yeah, I think if you've been to a game, they are absolutely overusing Rumble for stuff.
Are they really?
And like underutilizing their players for things like in timeouts and stuff. Like they're like skits, or like whenever the Thunder should be playing some fun game with a player where you're like getting to know the players and like their likes and dislikes and whatever. Like all the other teams do this except for the Thunder, and they just use Rumble for stuff. Like for like little skits in the middle of the game. And I'm like, who's this for? Like, who is this for? The little kids, I guess. But
so you're saying you want some more adult entertainment?
No, what I'm saying is I want like good entertainment. That's what I'm saying.
And you don't think Rumble is good entertainment?
No.
Wow.
Not even my kids. My kids are like Rumble indifferent, honestly.
Rumble indifferent?
Yeah. Like they would much prefer like to see Josh Giddey up on the screen.
Huh.
Like
what if Josh Giddey was in the Rumble suit
and took the head off and
revealed
around? Yeah. They would then be excited, but until then, indifferent.
That's interesting. I mean, I'm trying to think of. I mean, Benny the Bull has some, funny little bits. I've always enjoyed Benny the Bull.
Yeah.
Whoever the mascot was that did the backflip off of the giant ladder, I'm into that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anything where a mascot is in danger. It just ramps up the entertainment.
Well, there's a new Rumble. I think the old Rumble was a little.
There's a new Rumble?
Well, I mean, there's been a new Rumble for a little while.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the old Rumble used to like walk up and down like the seats and like step on like the armrests.
Yeah, I like that.
New Rumble is not dangerous like that. He's much more conservative, and I would say less Rumble content and
more Storm Chasers.
No, absolutely not. It's just simple stuff where it's like, hey, if you're on a deserted island, what music would you listen to, or like what books would you take, or whatever. Like all the other teams are doing this.
Yeah, I feel like the Mavs are really good at those types of in-game videos.
Yeah, the Nuggets are good about it. There's a lot of teams are, and it's just like easy, and you do it at media day, and you just sit down with them and you just ask them all these questions, and then you just throw it to your video editors. They make a video and you put that up during the timeout. Like, it's just very simple stuff.
Hey, hire Big D, hire our friend Dane.
Come on, Dane,
he can do it.
Let's go, Dane.
Andrew, I didn't hear what did you think about the new jerseys
behind me right there?
What?
I have a picture of Dane right behind me.
Yeah.
What do I think of the jerseys? I thought they were fine. They're fine.
Woo! I will say, as someone who didn't like them initially, I do think the rust looks interesting.
Yeah.
I just don't like it with the black. Like, I feel like if that was
black, though.
Huh?
It's dark gray.
Well, yeah, whatever. But if that was like a white jersey and then the rust was like the pop color,
yeah,
I think I might like it, because I think that rust pattern looks kind of cool.
I don't mind the rust down the side.
Yeah,
I did learn it's not leather or pleather, which was a little.
You learned that? You had to ask that?
Well, yes.
Yes. Mark.
Marcus, will you?
How are the players adjusting to playing in leather?
Well, Keith Parrish and I have had a lot of conversations about these jerseys and the possibility that it is pleather that they're playing in. I don't like the shorts, the bottom of the shorts. I actually like the actual jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
I went in the locker room and they had the jerseys displayed.
Yeah,
at every locker, and I think the jersey actually looks pretty cool. I just don't like the shorts. The way that the potential pleather is at the bottom, like it's too thick at the bottom, and it looks like chaps, on the shorts, and I do not like that.
Do you think they'll come out with rust accessories? Because if like Shai was wearing full like the leg things and the arm sleeves, and they were all rust, that might look cool.
Yeah, I might be into that. This group is super into short shorts, and the shorts were like way short in the rust uniforms.
Well, Wiggins always rolls up one.
He rolls up
leg.
one. I know. I haven't had a chance to catch him to ask him what's going on. Like, how are you doing it?
I've seen other players do it. I think it's just a style. I don't know how they do it though. Like, do you use like double-sided tape?
Well, that's what I need to ask him.
That's what I want to know.
Like, how are you executing the role?
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Most definitely.
I hope you don't get him in trouble, because what if he's using, an illegal? What if tape is an illegal substance? You can't have it on your jerseys.
Is he using Stickum?
Yeah, he might be using Stickum.
Remember when Dwight Howard was using Stickum? And then we had the windy. I'm palming the ball.
Oh man! Speaking of Dwight Howard, so in that stretch last year where they won, they were 7-7.
Mm-hmm.
One of their losses was a 21-point loss to the Lakers.
Oh boy!
Whose starting lineup was LeBron, Russ, who had 8 points, Avery Bradley, THT, and Dwight Howard. They lost by 21 to that team during their best stretch of the season.
That's really gross.
Yeah, it's really gross.
Gross.
Ass grass.
Yeah. So Grape Ape says something. I think Grape Ape is right. That he tucks it into his compression liner.
Oh, okay. That makes
Pretty
sense.
sure that's correct, but I don't know for sure.
I wonder if it ever comes unhinged during the game. He has to retuck.
I'll have to ask him. Maybe I can
Ask
do
him about that.
Maybe we can just have him on the pod just to talk about it.
I want to know if it causes chafing. You might think it would if you're running around and it's rubbing against the inside.
There's a lot of things we need to know.
Hey, he had probably the best dunk of the season.
Easily.
Also,
That was so much fun. It was off of a botched Poku layup, and he just follows it and just with a jam. Like that's another thing that got my basketball feelings all in a tizzy last night was that dunk, because we don't get a lot of dunks here, and they're not very. And if we do, they're not very entertaining. Like a Poku dunk is not emphatic. It's like every time I watch Poku dunk, I think, wow, he's sure tall, and then like Shai, he just gets there and just kind of, throws it down, maybe, I guess J-Dub throws down some pretty emphatic dunks.
yeah, J-Dub would be the only other one.
But like, that's it. We don't have any high flying dunkers. Maybe that's the missing piece here in this next draft is a high flying dunker.
Well, if we get one of like the Thompson twins, that would definitely count.
Wouldn't that be so much fun? Like, is it Amen or Amen? Do you know how to say it yet?
I think it's just amen. I don't
Amen.
know. Right when I said that out loud, I don't know.
I know. I think I've said it like 3 different ways, and I've heard people say it different ways, and I'm not sure
Oh,
how
really?
it's supposed to be pronounced. He, in particular, is pretty thundery.
Yeah, I can't find a pronunciation online.
Yeah, but
I think amen.
Amen. I like him. I'm a Amen is what Hoopsock 69. Hoopsock, I don't know if you're our pronunciation guide, but you are for today. Amen.
Amen.
I like him. I think that he's very thundery, and if the Thunder could very well be in his range on draft night.
Last thing, would you agree with me? Because this is the way I feel.
Mhm.
I'm like sort of checked out on the draft in a way that I have not been the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, not that I don't care, or I'm still like, I see everyone posting like the Wemby highlights and the Scoot highlights, but I'm not thinking about it game to game
Yeah.
in any serious way.
Yeah, I'm not either, which is good because honestly, it is like stress inducing
Well, it's also exhausting.
because you put all this energy into thinking like only one team is going to get Wembanyama,
Yeah.
and there's all these teams that would obviously love to have him. I mean, all 30 teams would love to have him, but just like the stress of like, okay, the Thunder don't have to get Wembanyama to be good. I think if
Right.
like you're Houston, there would be a fear in my heart as a Houston fan that if we don't get Wembanyama, I'm not sure if we can be good. Like,
Well,
anytime soon.
I've been thinking about Houston lately because now I'm starting to get worried that the pick isn't going to convey because they'll be so bad again.
I know. Like that.
Like, what is the path to them being just normal bad next year other than getting someone like Wembanyama?
There's not. But Wembanyama won't even fix it. Not in year one. Not in year one.
But we need them to be like the 7th or 8th worst team to like feel good about getting that pick. Yeah. I don't want them to be if they were the worst team 4 years in a row, hopefully someone nationally would start caring about that and complaining.
Yeah, I know.
What
happens with Houston is like in comparison with OKC is people actually we're like kind of hyping Houston a little bit going into the season. Oh, like I really like what they did.
Their over under was like 27.5.
I know. There's just no way that they even sniffed 27 games. Like there's just no way.
It was bizarre to me.
Yeah, they stink. And then like now it's just like, oh yeah, Houston, like they're having some trouble, So not like look at the tank job that they're doing,
I was looking at coach records and like Silas is entering historical territory. Now, there have been coaches who have done that before, like Brett Brown, who then obviously got to rebound and improve their win-loss record. But like where he is right now, among coaches, I think it was like who have coached at least 150 games, he has the second worst winning percentage of all time
they have a worse record than the Thunder during this whole thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, they've been the worst team every single year,
Yeah,
and they are again.
I don't think so. I don't think Silas survives to be the coach on the other side of this. I don't think he makes it. I think he's back as an assistant with somebody in the next calendar year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, he can come to OKC. He was a great offensive coordinator for Dallas.
Sure. Bring him on.
Cool.
All right.
But
Anything
yeah, they're
else?
a mess. Anything else? I don't want to have to go back to work, Andrew. So I'm looking, is there anything else we could talk about? Hey, we joke about it, Andrew, but the Wizards, they've been playing real good. Won 4 in a row, and that's the next game.
What I'm trying to do is to not talk about them, because the only time that I brought them up on our podcast on Slam and Jam, they were so bad, like comically bad afterwards.
Well, then you need to bring them up so that they'll lose to the Thunder.
Hey, shout out to the Wizards for their defense. They have really put together a nice stretch here.
Without Brad Beal.
Hey, maybe that's part of it.
4-1 without Beal.
Yeah, Kuz has been so good.
Yeah, he has. Okay,
fun to watch.
Fine. Real last thing is that I'm into the conversation about the Warriors trading their young guys.
Oh, yes, let's dig in.
And I like that even Golden State fans are starting to come up with fake trades, because I have no sense for what Golden State would accept for any of those guys. My impression is that they have no interest in really that they would never trade like Kuminga or Moody.
I don't think they're trading Kuminga. I don't think that's happening.
And it feels like it's really Wiseman, who just got sent down to Santa Cruz. Kerr said that it could be as much as a 10-day visit down to their G League affiliate. Mm-hmm. But based on the way like he was hyped by that organization,
I know,
and being the number 2 pick only 2 years ago, I can't even imagine a deal, because any deal that another team would realistically do would have to look bad from Golden State's perspective. Like, they would have to admit that they screwed up.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if they're ready to do that yet.
I don't think they have the guts to do it, honestly.
Especially like Nekias Duncan threw out, a Thunder trade involving like Kenrich and Muscala, and I was like, yeah, I mean, sure, fine, but I was thinking,
cackling at
like
that.
For the Warriors, like that's where this is going to end. Like it's almost like the Jahlil Okafor thing, where they draft this guy who, to Jalil's credit, like he had at least statistically a fine rookie season, but then they just kept holding on to him, even though they knew it probably wasn't going to fit long term with Embiid and Nerlens Noel at that time. And then by the time they eventually do trade him, it's like a fake first and some role play. I can't remember who the role player was. But that's where this feels like it's going. Like they're going to keep holding out because to have that opportunity as a team, like a team with Steph Curry, to have an opportunity to get a top 2 pick, and this is how it might end. Like that is brutal.
You could have had LaMelo.
Or they could have had Halliburton. Like that would have been light years, taking Halliburton at number 2.
Yeah, that was. I mean, a Kongwu.
At this point, mostly anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jalen Smith.
But yeah, anyways, I'm just interested in hearing what people think the Warriors would accept, because I just don't think they're going to trade him. I think it would be too much of an ego hit for the type of return they'd likely get for him. I mean, maybe there are teams out there that are like super hyped on Wiseman and would be willing to give like pick assets, but that's not really what they need right now.
I know. Okafor was traded to Brooklyn for Trevor Booker.
Trevor Booker, who hit the backward shot.
No looker Booker.
No looker Booker. That was cool.
Yeah. That's what they could be looking at if they wait. If it was Kenrich and one of your lower level firsts, would you do that?
Probably. I mean, even if it was just for this season,
Yeah.
playing him for 60 games in OKC's system, you have to imagine his value would be higher than it is right now.
Yeah, you could just flip him in
So
the summer.
even if it's just an asset flip, because there's no way you would want to play him with Chet or whatever. That's fine. Like, yeah, I would still probably do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's not. Let's just be clear. I don't think it's going to happen, and I also don't think he's a Thunder player.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like he's not like, and it's partly why he's not working in Golden State is because he can't make decisions with the basketball and can't make decisions within an offense.
which they knew.
And like he doesn't connect on screens. He's not a good defender. I mean, there's just a lot of really bad things about him where if you're the Thunder, it's like, why would you waste your time there? Like I would rather use this time to develop Poku and figure out more of what he is than bring in Wiseman. And also, I don't want to get rid of Kenrich. I like Kenrich.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking about like if Şengün wasn't there, if you just plugged Wiseman onto Houston.
He's a rocket. He is like 100% a rocket.
Like that, maybe they can trade Eric Gordon. That'd be a nice vet to have.
Yeah, Eric Gordon for Wiseman. That makes sense for both teams. Makes the Warriors better. Makes the Rockets a lot worse.
I also think it costs Golden State a lot of money.
Which they would pay. That's actually a pretty decent outcome if you get Eric Gordon. Like they need Eric Gordon in Golden State. Like they need those guys. All right. I gotta go. Chili's on the stove. Gonna go eat some chili with my family. Hope you guys have a great day. Hopefully I'll have a little report on how the G League is looking and how Scoot Henderson is looking on Friday's episode. So look out for that. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we'll talk to you guys again on Friday.